Continuing from our previous consistent character video, I wanted to see what consistent faces we could achieve by using IP Adapter, a model useful for combining images with prompts and transferring styles from one image to another. We'll install the models and then try to replicate a celebrity face and an original face I made in an earlier experiment so we can see what consistency we can achieve. But like the video and give it to me bite-sized. For this video, I'll be using the Epic Realism and Epic Realism SDXL model, which you can download and install from the description box below. These model files will go into our Models Stable Diffusion folder. Now, in order to use SDXL models, we will need to download the SDXL VE, which I've also linked in the description, and this will need to go into the Models VE folder. I'll also link in the description a repository containing a number of popular samplers, which will need to go into the Models SGRAN folder. And moving on to the IP adapter models, which will be required for the face modification, you will want to navigate to the Face ID repository in the description and download a couple of files. We'll need the IP adapter Face ID plus v2 SD15 bin file and the LoRa save tensor file, alongside the SDXL equivalents. The Face ID models will need to go into our ControlNet extensions model folder, located alongside other models like OpenPose, and the LoRa's will need to go into our models LoRa folder, then boot up the web UI, and you should find that your models are available for use. I've done a tutorial on installing ControlNet, so be sure to check that out if you're new to Stable Diffusion, and ensure you're using the latest version of ControlNet for the multi-input option. Now, achieving consistent faces, or even using a custom face, can be useful for a variety of situations, especially if you're trying to achieve a specific result on a stubborn checkpoint, and this can be achieved in 3 easy steps. The first step is to upload a series of reference images to ControlNet. These can be uploaded via the single image section, but I'll be using the multi-input section available on the latest version of ControlNet. This allows for multiple images to be used in a single ControlNet unit, which will be useful for taking multiple variations of the same face and running them through IP Adapter. These can be JPEGs or PNG files from Google, or even images you've generated yourself. I find that using 3 to 5 images give a stronger and better result than using one single image. Next, we'll select the IP Adapter Face ID Plus preprocessor and the IP Adapter Face ID Plus version 2 model. I'll enable ControlNet, select Pixel Perfect, and leave the rest of the settings the same for the time being. The last step is to type in your prompts, and if we're using the IP Adapter Face ID Plus V2 model, we should also include the LoRa, which can produce improved results compared to previous models. Also, be sure to include whatever other prompts you want, but there's no need to describe the face, as we're using the IP adapter to try and replicate the result of our reference image. Then finally, we can press the generate button, and we should see that our multitude of images have the same face, but the quality of the faces may not exactly be accurate. I found that with SD15 models, the accuracy won't be perfect, but it will be consistent, which may be what you're looking to achieve. If you want greater accuracy, then we can change our checkpoint to an SDXL model and ensure we're using the ControlNet's SDXL IP adapter model and the IP adapter SDXL LoRa, and this should produce higher quality results. Also, ensure to use the SDXL VE, which can be found within Settings, then navigate to the VE section, and it should appear within the drop-down menu. I also tried this with Brad Pitt, and the results were pretty good, far better than using the SD15 models alone. Next, I wanted to try and run some tests to see how the IP adapter model responds to additional prompts, which change the overall look of the image, starting with facial expressions. I only use 3 expressions because these realistic models tend to be pretty bad at doing facial expressions, other than happy and somewhat confused. And when testing these out, I didn't notice any artifacts or anything wrong, and it seemed to blend nicely with the IP adapter. Next, I wanted to see what would happen if we prompted a black or Asian person with Brad Pitt being used in the IP adapter, and the results were surprisingly interesting, as we ended up with 3 versions of Brad Pitt which were uncanny, but also, without a doubt, Brad Pitt. This overall proved to me that using prompts worked well with IP adapter while keeping the original face's likeness. I even went a step further by trying to swap out the gender, and this worked surprisingly well at replacing both the gender while keeping our ethnicity prompts included in the design, although some of the skin tones were slightly weaker than before. Next, I wanted to try a variety of poses to see if the face remained steady and free of artifacts at different angles, and I'm happy to say that the results were pretty good throughout, although in some images the face did look very plastered on, but I think this is to be expected. Looking at some age-related prompts, the results aren't too bad, but not as extreme as I would have hoped for in regard to de-aging or increasing the age of Brad Pitt. I think some of the facial wrinkles from the reference photo are what are holding back the age prompts from fully taking effect. Now, most of the work we've done has been in relation to the text to image section, but we can get brilliant results using image to image by setting up our control net as before, but this time in-painting areas of the face we will want to swap. I'm using a denoising strength of around 0.6, and while the results are good, we do have some artifacts mainly around the quality of the eyes and around the neck where some of that mask is seeping through. So I tightened up the mask to only include as much of the face and ears as I could, and I used the in-paint only mask area option under in-paint area. So instead of resizing the whole image, we're resizing the in-painted area to the specified resolution. The result was much better with a high degree of quality and better eyes and blending with the original face. There was also far less of that mask seeping through into the generated image, so a much better result overall. But hopefully you found this video helpful for modifying faces with ControlNet's IP adapter, and if you did, like the video, subscribe, and support over on Patreon for as little as $8 per month. This is Bite Size Genius, and I hope you enjoyed.